Earlier this year, I travelled from Singapore to London without flying, and a massive part of that journey was a couple of weeks I spent travelling across China, a country that blew me away and left me wanting more, so I've decided to go back to China in an attempt to uncover more of what this gigantic country has to offer. In this video, I'll be experiencing some of Shanghai's modern, state-of-the-art infrastructure, trying the local cuisine, delving into the city's colonial past, and then finally meeting with someone who was lucky enough to visit and document life in Shanghai all the way back in 1980, when China was a vastly different place. So make sure you watch right until the end. Let's see what my latest trip to China is going to deliver. Okay, made it to Shanghai 15 hours later on Air China. They weren't too bad, to be fair, but I'm absolutely shattered. Anyway, it's great to be back here. Anyway, first thing I need to do is work out how to get out of this airport. It was absolutely huge by the looks of things. Then get into the city centre. There's a pretty unique way of doing that here in Shanghai. Then I'm so tired, need a coffee, get some Chinese food for lunch, then check into my hotel. So yeah, let's go. So I've actually already been through immigration earlier this morning in Beijing. I flew into Beijing first. So it should be pretty quick getting out of here. I must say though, visiting China now on my Aussie passport, visa-free, it is so easy. It's basically just like going to Europe or anywhere else that's visa-free. Okay, well this airport is huge. That was like a 20-minute walk from the gate to the arrivals hall. No immigration as well. Anyway, I'm looking for now what is called the Maglev. It is apparently the fastest train in the world, and it's the best way to get into the Shanghai city centre. It goes over 400 k's an hour and takes 8 minutes, which is unbelievable. I mean, straight away I'm just already being reminded of just how high-tech and futuristic this place is. Right, so Maglev up this way, so let's go work out how to buy a ticket on the world's fastest train. There we are, let's see how this works.
Dear passenger, measure 20%.
Hey, there we go. So, of course, being in China now again means that I'm back to paying for everything on my phone with Alipay and WeChat Pay. And that was pretty easy, but for a first-time tourist here who doesn't know about these payment systems, I can imagine it's quite difficult to do simple stuff like that, buying a train ticket. Here it is here, the fastest train in the world. K's an hour so far, it says up on the screen. Right, and just like that, 8 minutes later in the centre of Shanghai. 8-minute Maglev ride into the centre, now just a short metro ride to my hotel. I've forgotten about the convenience of travelling in China. Anyway, let's go and buy a metro ticket. So there you have it, Shanghai Airport to basically where my hotel is in half an hour, and it costs 50 RMB. Not bad if you ask me. Anyway, here we are stepping out into Shanghai for the first time on this trip. That's a joke. It is so hot here, I can't describe it. Alright, look, I don't want this to start sounding like a propaganda piece a couple of minutes in, but seriously, where else in the world can you fly into the airport, take the fastest train in the world into the city centre in 8 minutes, and then another short metro ride to your hotel right in the centre? I don't know where else. And all for like 5-6 USD too. Anyway, let's go find where this hotel is and check in. Alright, my hotel is just up ahead here. Let's see how the check-in goes with the presumed language barrier that I'm going to experience. And one main thing about China that still makes it difficult, despite all the technology and convenience, English is not widely spoken here. Yeah, hello, just check-in. Alright, got there in the end. Nice to be out of the heat now and some air conditioning. Was out there for about 5 minutes and I'm dripping with sweat. Right, been into the room, freshened up. But before I show you this room, I want to go and get a coffee, and then let's go and try some local Shanghainese cuisine. This place really has such a different feel in the summer. Some of you may remember I came to Shanghai a few months ago on my Singapore to London trip, and it was in the middle of winter and it was freezing cold and everything was dead. The streets were pretty quiet, but now you can see everything's really green. The cicadas are really noisy and it's extremely hot and extremely humid. Check this out, there's just a dead turtle hanging off the back of this bike. That is not something I'll be trying while I'm here, just for the record. Now, apart from being famous for its modern architecture, its fast trains and its status as a global financial capital, Shanghai is also famous for its cuisine. So I'm heading now to try one of its most famous local dishes called soup dumplings, or xiaolongbao in the local language. I found a really good restaurant on Apple Maps, we're going to head there now. 你好 ，Hello， 谢谢。This one, please. And这个。谢谢。I think I picked a pretty touristy place. The menus are all in English. So the first dish I've got is some sort of a meat noodle dish. I'm not sure how local it is to Shanghai, but yeah, let's give it a try, see how it is. It's good. Right, noodles are great. Now time for the main event. Let's try these soup dumplings, see how they are. Yes, looks like. It's quite literally full of soup, and it's sort of pork meatball fell out as I'm eating it. It's very good though.
下支付。
谢谢，非常好，谢谢。
收款成功，50元。
Tried to say it was very good in Chinese. I don't think he understood me. Anyway, you see, stuff like that is why I love traveling in China. That was a touristy restaurant in an expensive part of Shanghai. I basically had 2 meals, the dumplings and the noodles. It came to 50 yuan, 50 RMB, so that's what, $6 US again? China is really high value for money. I like to say it's first world infrastructure for third world prices sometimes. Right, so had my coffee, had my food, woken me up a lot, but I'm still pretty tired. So I'm gonna head back to the hotel, show you where I'm staying, and then maybe get a bit of an afternoon nap in. Right, so let me show you where I'm staying for the next few nights. Bit of a shoebox if I'm being honest, but you know what, it'll get the job done. So basically, you walk in the front door here, you got just a bed, a very small desk, a small TV, aircon, which is really important at the moment here, bedside table over there, and then come through here, you've got a very, very small bathroom. You've got a shower there, mirror, toilet, some towels, and then another mirror over here, and you notice there's no windows. So I was saying before about how cheap China is, but Shanghai for accommodation is actually very expensive. So I've booked one of the cheaper options here. Costs about 50 Australian dollars per night, which is very good for Shanghai, and still for what it is. I mean, it's clean, it's reasonably modern, I suppose. And it's in a very good part of town, so yeah, 50 bucks a night for this is still not too bad, I don't think. I had a much needed couple of hours in the hotel room. Now I'm going to take you to somewhere that I would consider, from my experience, to be the absolute center of Shanghai, like the main city center. Just talking about another observation that I've made about Shanghai, or I guess China in general, is the streets are completely silent. They do have traffic on them, but they're silent. And I was wondering why that was, why the traffic doesn't make any noise. And I realized it's because basically every single vehicle here is electric. It's not something that I've seen anywhere else in the world. You see the odd one here and there in Europe or Australia, but in China it seems to be basically every vehicle is electric. Just an interesting observation. Anyway, have a look at where I am now. I'm walking towards where I want to show you, but nice river, nice summer evening in Shanghai. The noisiest thing here is the cicadas. Right, so this is where I was talking about. Behind me is the People's Park and the People's Square, and I'm stood here at the start of the Nanjing Road pedestrian street, possibly the most famous street in all of China. It's basically in the center of Shanghai. It's where all the high-end shops are. And I can tell you one thing, it was not this busy back in February when I was here. Anyway, I'm going to take you for a walk down here and see what we can find. Just packed full of people as far as the eye can see. Now, of course, when we're going to eventually get there, but this leads to the famous Bund, which is our famous viewing point of the Shanghai skyline at the very end. I've always thought of this street to be like the most Western place that exists in the whole of China. But if you have a look at the sort of brands we've got here, like Pandora, M&M's, Sephora, Nike shop off in the distance. All stuff that's very familiar to someone coming from a Western country. And I'll tell you for free, not all of China is like this, as you will see later in this series. There you are, Subway, Costa Coffee and the Crown Plaza. Couldn't get less Chinese if you tried. The atmosphere really is something else along here. The first time I walked down here, it was probably -2 degrees or something like that. And it was nowhere near as busy as it is here now. But it's a nice warm summer's evening and everyone's out, really busy. I'll tell you one thing I've noticed. Last time I walked down here, I got harassed non-stop by dodgy salespeople trying to sell me watches, jewelry, all that sort of stuff. But it hasn't happened once here today. I would have thought it would be worse in the summer when it's peak season. I don't know, maybe it's being cleaned up or something, but yeah, just an observation I've made. I'll tell you what, it's getting busier the closer we get to the Bund. Just people as far as the eye can see. Have a look ahead. Wow, just swarming with people, and it is so hot too. So hot that they've set this thing up over here, spraying mist, and everyone's trying to get some. It's honestly, it's unbearably hot. It's oppressive. I was not expecting it to be this bad here. So it's a known fact that Shanghai is the richest city in China. A lot of the country's money is here. A lot of the country's billionaires are here. And I just must say, walking down this street, it really shows. The amount of people you see walking around with Gucci bags and Louis Vuitton bags, stuff like that. There's a Rolex shop just back up there somewhere. You know, to think what China was like 30, 40 years ago and now it's like this, it's insane. Here we are, one of China's most iconic viewpoints. I've definitely picked a busy time to come here. I will say that even though I've been here before, I still don't get tired of this view. It's just as amazing seeing it the second time. It really is such an impressive skyline. Now, of course, on the other side, the backdrop is the British colonial part, the former British concession. If you're wondering why that even exists in the first place, well, back in the mid-19th century, after the Opium Wars, China was nowhere near as powerful as it is now. It was basically forced into signing treaties with European countries, which gave them trading posts all across the country, different ports. One of them was the British concession here in Shanghai. Another British port was Hong Kong, of course. Basically, for 80 years, this place was governed by the British, separate to Chinese rule. The British built their style of buildings there, had their own separate laws, their own police even. And then in the Second World War, it was given back to the Chinese. And it's a part of Shanghai and China's history that still stands to this day. There is also a French concession in Shanghai too, but all over the country there was old European trading posts. We'll see it though. I will say though, British no more. Chinese flag on top of every single building there. I mean, of course there is, I'm in China, but you know what I'm saying. Not quite as busy up this end. I think I'm just going to chill around here for a bit, watch for sunset, and then decide where to go next. The light show for this evening starting now. You can see over the skyline. Okay, look, I can't fight this anymore. I've barely slept the past 24 hours. Been out all day exploring except a couple of hours in the afternoon. So I think I'm going to have to call it for today. Back to the hotel, get a good night rest, and I'll see you tomorrow for some more exploring of Shanghai. Right, good morning. Let's go and start the day with a traditional local Shanghai breakfast. This one? One? Right, here we are, got my breakfast. It's some sort of fried pancake thing filled with egg, some crispy fried sort of thing, and some vegetables. Some other people, they put sausage in it, but not mine, I don't know. He didn't speak any English, but anyway. And And also it costs 7 yuan, so that's about $1. Not bad for the most expensive city in China. Let's sit down somewhere and try this and see what it's like. Alright, there's nowhere to sit down, that's okay. I'll just do a taste test while standing up. So let's see what this $1 Chinese fried pancake thing is like. Oh, it's delicious. Really good. It'd be nice with a bit of meat in it, but it's fine without. So yeah, not bad at all. About $1 for really good quality street food in Shanghai. And also, I keep talking about how the Chinese people don't speak much English. I don't want that to sound like a dig at them, because it's not. It's just an observation and something that can make traveling here difficult. You know, obviously, you shouldn't expect anyone to speak English when you're traveling in their country. They don't need to learn English here. Yeah, I just wanted to make that point quickly. So I've come to another iconic spot in Shanghai, the former French concession. Not too different to the British area that I was showing you around the Bund last night. It was handed over as a trading post to the French in the mid-19th century, and it was under their control, basically completely separate to Chinese rule until 1943 to be exact. And over that time of French rule, it became one of Shanghai's most affluent and trendy neighborhoods. And take a look at it now today. So it's a very nice, quiet, leafy area. Apparently it's home to some really cool cafes and restaurants and bars. So yeah, let's have a look around and see what we can find here in the French concession. So I'm pretty sure I said this last time I came to Shanghai, but for a city of 25 million people or something like that, it just doesn't feel like it. It's not chaotic, it's not extremely crowded for the most part. It's really sort of peaceful, quiet, nice feel about it. Just have a look around here, this area. See, that's something I really like and enjoy about being in Shanghai. Except for this humid weather, again, today it's unbearable. But you know, I chose to come here in the middle of summer, didn't I? So I think this coming up here is one of the main streets of the French concession area. I might be mistaken because I'm not too familiar with it. But yeah, this is what it's like so far. It's very leafy. I think it's going to be lined with nice cafes like this. So yeah, let's just walk up and see what we find. See, on another hot day like today, it's nice to have these trees as shade. Although this whole area feels really touristy, mainly Chinese tourists. More so than other parts of Shanghai, which surprises me kind of. This area is a bit smaller and quieter than I expected, but I think it'd be rude not to try one of these cafes here, because that's what the area is so well known for apparently. So let's find one and get a coffee. Now for most of this video so far, I've been focusing on the modern side of Shanghai and how developed and high-tech everything is. But of course, China and Shanghai was not always like this. In fact, you don't have to go back very far, and China was a relatively poor, underdeveloped country. Let's meet someone today who was lucky enough to visit China all the way back in 1980 and documented what life was like 45 years ago. Mike Emery is a photographer who was on board one of the first American ships to ever come to China, and he documented what China and the streets of Shanghai were like in the year of 1980. And by pure coincidence, his exhibition is on right now when I'm in China, showcasing his work. Mike is a good friend of mine, so I could not turn down this opportunity to meet and look at his work. Let's go. Right, so I'm in the exhibition now. I've been told that these pictures are a mix of Shanghai and Beijing. I think mostly Shanghai. And they're all taken in 1980, so yeah, let's go and let's have a look at some of them. It's pictures like these ones here that really just highlight how much China has changed over the years. So these ones here are Shanghai, and this is the ones that I find the most fascinating. Just look at what Shanghai looked like 45 years ago and compare it to today. Wouldn't be surprised if that exact spot now is just covered with towering skyscrapers. The massive development in such a short amount of time is what makes China so incredible. Right, so I've come back to the Nanjing Road area tonight to meet with Mike Emery himself now, to ask him a few questions about his work and hopefully shed some light as to what life was like in China in 1980. And we're going to one of my favorite spots in Shanghai, so looking forward to showing you that as well. Right, so I'm here at the Captain in Shanghai, one of my favorite bars, with the man himself, Mr. Mike Emery. Mike, good to see you again, mate.
Thank you. I was first here in Shanghai in the spring of 1980. I was a photographer on board one of the first cruise ships to come to China after China had opened its doors to Western visitors.
That's great. But, so obviously you see China today, it's really modern, high-tech, developed place, especially here in Shanghai. But what was it like in 1980 when you first came in? How different was it to today? What was life like?
Very simple life was. I'd walk down Nanjing Road here in Shanghai, which is one of the main roads here in Shanghai, and I'd have these waves of people coming towards me in blue suits, in grey suits, and these people had never seen a Western person before. So I was like an alien. I was like coming out of space. Blonde hair, bright clothes, and a thing around my neck, a camera. And most of them had never seen a camera, so what they did, they stared, and their eyes poking and shining and just looking straight faces because they'd never met a Western person before. So for me to get the photographs I wanted to, I did little things like I'd wave to them and I'd shake hands and say, "Nice to meet you," which is the name of my exhibition now here in Shanghai.
Now obviously even now in China, less so in Shanghai, but being a Westerner, you become like a walking tourist attraction almost. Especially in other parts of China I've been to, like it's, people come up to you, they're curious, they want to get pictures of you. But what you were saying before about there was a picture in particular you took of the boy with his arms outstretched.
Yeah.
How did you get him to? So you told me before about how that took a long time.
It took me 5 minutes to get that photo, and I got the camera ready. I just played with him for a while, and I tickled him, and then I just put my hands out in front of me, hoping he would copy me. And guess what? He did. So that photo is so important to me because it shows the love and the friendship, not just from the children and also from the adults at the time.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's just incredible how China has gone from what it was in 1980 to, in the space of 45 years, to now one of the most, possibly the most developed place I've ever been. It's definitely up there. So you mentioned your book as well. Tell me a bit about that and what you're looking to do with that.
Well, I've got 2 books out. One little book is my little red book called China's Children 1980.com on my website. And here in China I was lucky enough to get a book published by a publisher in Beijing, which is China 1980, and up to now we've sold over 20,000 copies, which I'm quite happy with. I think that's fantastic. Now we're doing exhibitions here in Shanghai, possibly Beijing and Guangzhou. Then what we do is we try and find the people in the book and hear their story.
Okay, that's brilliant. Well, thanks a lot for this short chat today. Really appreciate it. For those who are interested, I have looked at Mike's book myself. It's well worth a look. The pictures are fascinating. I'll put the link to a few of his things in the description of the video. But yeah, anyway, now we're going to enjoy a couple of pints here at the Captain in Shanghai.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks a lot for that, Mike. Back in the iconic bun to end things off. That was my first couple of days in China. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe. Would help me out massively. And I've also got some pretty exciting stuff coming up for the rest of this trip, so yeah, would hate for you to miss it. But until then, it's bye for now.